to do a whole lot of stuff, okay? We're over here at the mini farm because that's where we're ending. So if you want to see Pico and George, you gotta wait all the way to the end. But let's head back over to the big farm. We're gonna be checking multiple mares for multiple different reasons. So let's do that.
Looking slender.
She does look slender. She doesn't have a baby this year, so she's not her usual house-sized self.
That threw me off.
Yeah. But, so like we're a little bit later checking, and for Indy and Sophie both, if they're in heat, we're breeding them, if they look good and stuff. And I'm breeding them both to Waylon. And so they collect Waylon Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today's Monday. And so I was like texting her, I was like, I'm so sorry, am I too late? And she was like, no, but you have like, it's like that sound on TikTok. Do you know you have 30 minutes? She's like, shipper's coming. Let me know.
So what are these two?
These are two that are just, we're not trying to sync them up with anyone.
They're just coming in natural?
Coming in natural. Sophie, so this one she's just gonna carry. Sophie, we are going to flush her embryo and send it off because we've gotta test her embryos first. So with Sophie, so there's like a disease panel that all horses, like if you're breeding them, it's available to them. Like there's requirements with stallions and whatnot. So for mares, I think they keep adding 1 to 2 diseases to the panel, I feel like yearly, because it used to just be 4, then it was 5, then it was 6, and 6 is pretty standard right now, but they just added a couple more disease panels on there. So for Sophie, and with the disease panels, like some of them, it's like, oh, if there's just one parent that carries it, then your baby's safe. It might carry it, but it wouldn't be symptomatic. Whereas others, only one parent has to have it for them to be symptomatic and for that disease to affect them. Some are worse than others, I would say. And so Sophie has a copy of PSSM 1. And while her previous breeders were lucky that her 2 first fillies were 6-panel negative, they weren't not affected, I don't really want to take that chance. And so I won't just be breeding Sophie and letting her carry. I'll be always doing an embryo transfer and testing the embryo before it's implanted.
What are the 6 genetic?
G-bed, it's MHYM, G-bed, PSSM, HYPP, HERDA. Is it MH? Am I missing one? Is that 5?
That was 5, I believe.
That was 5?
I can never remember them off the cuff.
Off the top of my head, I'm like, there's a new one, there's a couple new ones as well. And then there's other genetic ones you have to worry about with paints.
Yeah.
Specifically. Like there's definitely breed specific ones as well that like wouldn't affect a quarter horse but might affect a paint, like things like that. Beyonce has a copy of HERDA because her sire, RL Best of Sudden, he's a carrier of HERDA. So a lot of RL Best of Sudden horses have it. But by knowing that she has that, I don't breed her to a stud that has that, and the babies will never be symptomatic. They might carry, she's only had one ever that carried it, but he was a gelded, so.
What percentage of people that are buying your horses want them genetically tested before they buy them?
I'd say if it's a filly, all of them. Like pretty much all of them are gonna want a filly genetically tested. For geldings, it's kind of like, it's nice to know if they have PSSM or something like that because, well, we try to avoid doing that. But what I'm saying is if you do have a gelding with PSSM, it's maintainable a lot of the time. And so like you have to change their diet and whatnot to maintain that. And they can still be show horses. They can still, most of the time. So I would say it's still good to have them tested for those couple of things where they don't have to have both copies. Like they just, I think HYPP and PSSM are the two, or MHYM I think as well. You just have to have one copy. So like Sophie doesn't seem to be symptomatic, but she carries it, and I don't know if that's just due to her diet. But you know, it might have. I don't know for a fact. It might have had something to do with her not showing longer than 12 years old. But there's so much about her that I love that if I can just eliminate the PSSM possibility in her foals, she's still an incredible asset to the breeding program.
CL on the left times 2.
Okay, so we're checking her. She has a CL, I think 2 CLs on the left, which is a corpus luteum, so she's ovulated previously. On the right,
That's her uterus. Very, very mild,
Heat.
like a demetus pattern.
do you think it's like tail end of heat, or?
Well, how long have you seen her in heat? How many days?
She hasn't been as flaming heat as Sophie.
She may just be coming in
She might just be coming in. Okay.
because her cervix is still tight. I don't feel like she just went out.
So it looked like she was beginning to have some edema in her uterus, starting to build some follicles. On the left, she had 2 CLs, which is corpus luteum. So that means she's previously ovulated. And so with that being said, we're not ordering semen for her today, but we are going to keep a close eye on her so that we can time it correctly, artificially inseminate her before she ovulates. But you also don't want to do it too soon before she ovulates. You want to do it like right before. Anyway, she's good for now. Let's check Sophie next. I'm not going downstairs. Oh, yeah. Sweetie. She does not like
You can't
shots.
even see that. So when they do that, they flex their muscle, and you cannot even feel the vessel. It's almost like you just kind of got to go in blind
Poor thing.
and let them relax.
Well, you got it.
Scant staff on that culture.
So what do we need to do? Antibiotics?
Probably when she's in heat, we probably just do a wash with like a Naxel antibiotic.
Do you want to check her today and see if she's in heat?
Yeah, we can do that. I just want to. I remember one of them had a. I
So,
can't remember which one.
so that's why preemptively we culture and flush a lot of our mares, because if they have some kind of infection, some kind of bacteria, that can basically lower your chances significantly of them holding a pregnancy. And so with Willow, she had some growth from, what was it called? Scant?
Staph.
Oh, it was just
It's
staph.
very mild.
Gotcha.
Scant is that's the term they use for not a whole lot of growth.
Gotcha. So we'll do like a little flush on her and get her all cleaned up before we use her as a resip. When I purchased her, she was carrying a baby, and then she lost it before she came here, and it was, you know, already too late to try to do anything with her. And so I wonder if, well, no, they already had a cast leg, so I was about to say. I wonder if she had an infection of sorts, but she could also be the type, because she was underweight. She could also be like Indy, where she can't stay in full while nursing and all that good stuff. Her top line, her demeanor, like all those dapples coming out. She has filled out so much on her hip. She has gained so much weight, and it took a long time to kind of see it because she's such a big horse. So like on a horse her size, 100 pounds doesn't make any difference, you know. Mm-hmm. Whereas 100 pounds on a 14-hand horse, it looks like a lot. So it took a minute to really see a big difference, but she looks great.
She is like boa constrictor. And she's so big, you know, her uterus is so far forward. I've got to get a lot of my arm in there to even get to it.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was kind of trying to do ICSI with her, because I know when they have big uteruses like that, it gets harder to flush. But she's not really cooperating with ICSI, so.
She just hadn't had enough follicles to make it make
No,
sense.
she has good follicles. She has like a bunch of them. What they said was is that some mares, their oocytes are like tight or gripped in the follicles, I guess is like in layman, like I couldn't tell you what they mean like specifically, but they said it's just a lot harder to extract the oocytes, and then there's a lower survival rate of the oocytes when that happens. And so that's kind of what's happening with her. She has tons of follicles. She had like 20 something last time.
Or the size of her uterus, it'll make it a little harder just from a volume standpoint, but as long as it's not sagging down into her belly, it shouldn't be too hard to do
An embryo transfer.
flush. No. You just have to use more volume.
Well, that's why I'm kind of like not letting her carry, to try to not make that uterus any more worn or. And also, I just want another year of her, like working on her health specifically. And I like to ride her. She's sound to ride. So there is one thing. So she's got like a little bit of like string halt going on. For I would never go back to showing her, but for riding purposes, what's like maintenance you can do for that?
For string halt?
Yeah.
A lot of times that's like a neurologic issue
Well, that's probably from the PSSM.
where it's not you know, it's not like hock pain is causing the string halt or stifle pain is causing the string halt. Usually it's just kind of like a more of a mechanical issue where they just hyperextend their leg when they bring it up.
So it's not something where, like, if you rode one with it, that it'd be pain. Because I've never had one with it. Would you say it's something that, like, you shouldn't ride them if they have it, even if it's just easy riding? Or
No, it's not a pain issue. It's like I said, a neurologic issue.
Okay.
I would, just to rule out that it's not a pain issue, you know, evaluate her from a lameness standpoint.
Right.
Maybe flexor hocks, flexor stifles.
Pasture-wise, she looks very sound. Like, you know, I feel like we've got her feet looking good. She's been very sound in the pasture. Looks really good. You know, really improved her weight. But I just notice a little bit stickiness in that one side. So I just want to be able to practice myself, like riding, little trotting, like flat work.
No, she looks like she's coming in too.
So she's coming into heat as well.
You can see her edema. She's got good edema. And if did you say we did culture her or no?
We have not yet.
Then now would be a time to culture her.
So she
Especially
doesn't have a
if
breedable follicle.
Well, I've seen like 100% of the right ovary.
Gotcha.
And about 75% of the left ovary. I think I'm gonna have to get my shoulder all the way in there to get to her left ovary.
So she doesn't have a breedable follicle on the right yet. Kind of like she's been really just looking crazy in heat, so I thought she'd be farther along.
Here is your left ovary.
What if she just doesn't have one?
I've seen it before. I've seen it before. There it is, right there. She doesn't have anything going on there.
Doesn't have a breedable one on the
actually
left
looks like
either.
it's a CL there too.
Okay.
So I'm hoping both these girls are just coming in.
Right.
When did we check them last, and what did they have? I mean, look at all that edema. Look at all her cysts.
So that, oh yeah, that's the thing. She does have sit. That's what we had said before.
So let's culture her.
Okay. So it's been 20 days. So she should be.
Well, we saw that old CL.
Yeah.
We checked her.
So she should be right on schedule.
Coming
back in.
What did this one have?
I don't think we checked her.
We had never checked her?
No.
I swear I've checked her before.
You have when I first got her, because before we did ICSI with her, you checked her.
Okay.
So because neither one of them are ready to breed right now, but they're coming into heat, we're gonna just go ahead and culture her. You can only culture them when they're in heat, so that's a good time. Make sure she doesn't have any infections or bacteria, and then we're gonna keep checking them probably in a few days. Because of how the semen falls in the week. They collect the stallions Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and so you have to know if you're going to need semen Thursday night, Tuesday night, like the night before usually. I can get away with the same day sometimes since it's my own stud, but I try to follow the rules. So they basically take a cotton swab, they go in, they like put the cotton swab on the uterine lining. When they're in heat, the uterine lining has like a little bit of fluid, so it helps everything stick to the cotton swab, okay? And so then they take it to the lab, they put it on the blood auger plate, see what grows. If there is bacteria that grows, then they figure out what type it is so that they can combat it with the correct treatment, whether that be antibiotics or whatever. A lot of the time you can just do a flush. So with Willow, we're doing a flush in her uterus. When it's a super severe infection, you'd have to put them on antibiotics, correct?
Generally not. Generally
No?
you can just treat them topically.
Okay.
Or locally in the uterus with
Gotcha.
lavages and infusions.
Gotcha.
There's very few antibiotics when they're not pregnant that get through the uterine lining that are effective.
Gotcha.
When you give it in the muscle, give it in the mouth, or give it in the vein, it's got to go all the way around the body and end up back here.
Gotcha.
So there's very few when they're not pregnant that actually get that done, and it's more effective just to take the antibiotic right where it's needed.
Gotcha.
Which is the uterine.
You heard it here first.
This is the uterine swab. It's a 3-sheath mechanism, where this goes into the cervix. Then you poke this through the cervix into the uterine body, and then here's your swab. And you just kind of roll it around the lining. Then you bring it back to protect it. You bring your inner catheter back, and then you come out of the cervix.
Gotcha. Learning things all the time.
All the time.
So you can just see this sheaths all the way in, that applicator is rolling around on the inside of that uterus. And then we pull it out. She's coming into heat, decent edema.
So she's got decent edema. She's coming in. So hopefully Maggie's looking about the same.
Old CL. Didn't she have a follicle somewhere, like a 2?
She had a 2.7 on the right with the CL.
Well, she's got the CL, but she doesn't have the 2.7 anymore.
That's a little small for her to ovulate on. I mean, I guess she could have done it.
Wasn't she ovulating smaller last year too?
Mhm.
What was she ovulating?
I think the last time it was like 3.5 was where we were breeding her on.
We'll have to see if she keeps coming into heat. Like, she may have resorbed that and be building another one. Has she shown you any signs?
Yeah, because they both had 2 something, so we were like, oh, build on that. So hopefully Maggie isn't like at a 3 something now.
Right.
I guess we'll see. Okay, well, Maggie responded to the lutealize nicely. She's in big time heat. We're trying to find that follicle that we were building. So that might be a wrench in the plans since Beyonce either resorbed or whatever her follicle. Yeah, that's pretty good size.
Measure that one for me. All right, take that red dot and slide it to the left. Yeah, right there. Measure that one. Right there.
I forgot, it's over here. And then how do you set?
Yeah.
3-2.
Ugh.
24 on the right. Which side was this one on? Left.
Right.
All right.
So it's only gone up to 2.5.
Yeah.
It was a 2.4.
Okay, so it hasn't gone up crazy.
Look at her edema though. I think you ought to check. Just check them both on Thursday and see if Beyonce's.
I mean, who knows? She could because she ovulates on smaller follicles sometimes. Like she could build one.
She'd have to build one to catch up, and then.
So what you're saying is there's not a huge chance.
Yeah. See, it's
So with Willow, we don't really have anyone we're actively trying to like put an embryo in her or anything, but we're trying to get her clean for when we use her as a reset mare. And so a couple weeks ago, we had done a culture where when she was in heat, we did what we just talked about, where we took a swab and saw if she had any bacteria, which she did. She had a little bit of staph. So, just like you said, we don't really have to put her on any antibiotics, but if she's in heat, you have to do it when she's in heat, then we're going to go ahead and flush her with the correlating antibiotic flush or something to treat it. But she's not in heat?
Not in heat, no.
Okay. So why is it that she has to be in heat for you to do the treatment?
Her cervix is shut right now.
Okay, yeah.
So if you were to leave some fluid in there, it can't get out, and it can just cause inflammation and start to pool fluid and just like set her up for problems the rest of the season.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can take it off.
Also, a lot of people wanted me to ask you about edema in mares when they're like really late stage pregnancy, because a couple of my mares, they like Gracie, like they do get a little bit of edema like in front of the udder or like around the ridges, like coming off the udder. And then a couple of my mares had like swelling like in the chest area, like up underneath. So I would say it's not always worrisome. So
Yeah, it's not. It can be no problem at all, or it can be an indication of a problem.
Yeah.
Most of the time, it's no problem at all.
right.
They all their vasculature starts to change when they're late term pregnant. So they start to develop an udder. They have inflammation in that area, and with that inflammation, their vessels get a little leaky. So they start spilling fluid out of the vascular system into the subcutaneous space.
Gotcha.
And it just kind of pools at those lower parts, the most dependent parts of their body. So like the middle of their abdomen, down by their udder, kind of lower legs.
Gotcha.
And the blood pressure changes too. I mean, you have a lot of blood that's flowing in the uterus, and so the hemodynamics of the whole horse changes a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah. There you go. You might have to play guard on this baby, Dr. Matthew. Tedward, you can't come out. He's the sweetest of the babies. That's the Joe baby.
Prettiest of the babies, for sure.
You gotta look at Annie's baby.
and smartest.
He's ready. I'm gonna take her to where she can look at him until you sedate her. Here you go. Here's your baby. Here's your mama. Here's your mama. Here's your mama. Just walk right here. Watch out, Nate. So for Ginger, I think she might be the last mare we're checking today. We're checking just to see where she's at in her cycle to breed her and just let her carry. So we're not doing an embryo transfer. The reason we couldn't breed her, which is kind of early in the season regardless, she had a January baby, so we were going to wait longer anyway. But when you're doing frozen semen, because the sire of her next baby is dead, so it's all frozen semen at this point. You want their uterus to get back to being pretty tight. You don't want to breed on like a Foal heat per se, because at that point their uterus is still pretty stretched out, and it makes it a little bit harder for them to conceive. So that's what we're doing right now, just checking her and then making plans on when to order the semen. Oh, we also will have to take them into the clinic, because when they're doing frozen semen, they prefer to do it at the clinic. So her and Teddy are going to have to take a little test drive to the clinic. She hasn't been there unless she hurt herself in a while.
When did we check her last?
We haven't checked her since at all.
Bunch of follicles on the right, old CO on the right, not in heat.
So you want to go ahead and get her loose?
Where's the semen?
It's in Kentucky and it's frozen.
Can we get it here like soon?
Yeah.
We can give her a shot and check her on Thursday.
Okay.
I was coming back and check another. Yeah, let's do that. That's a good idea.
Give her a shot today.
Yeah.
Okay. We might just let her be free flowing for a day or two. You don't think? Because he chews them off.
If he's checking out Thursday, then we can regrade him.
Yeah. We'll give her a few days. Just be a mermaid. It's just gonna make him frizzy.
Well, there's,
I can barely feel it, but let's see.
Whoa, sweet boy. Now, back in the day, Dr. Matthew once picked George up literally just all 4 feet off the ground as a little baby. So we've got the blood pulled. Good boy.
Is George, is that the name you want on the Coggin?
Yes.
Pico?
And he's international.
Yeah.
Okay, you're released. Look how pretty you are. I know. That was mean. It had to happen though. Also, just look at
That
look at how
imprinting.
tiny this thing. Look how tiny he is.
The imprinting is what made the difference.
And him.
That initial vet visit.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Oh no. Come on, let me get in front.
We may have to tie Pico.
Oh no. Let me get in front.
Alright.
How many people does it take to restrain a teeny tiny little donkey? Right now, 3. Easy, big boy. Oh. Oh. If this is the hardest thing you ever have to do,
Oh no.
that's not that bad.
I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah.
Oh sweetie. Oh sweetie. Oh sweetie.
I didn't even touch you, that thing. Gosh. Out of control.
Oh baby.
I'm sorry. I'm twitching him.
Oh I know.
We're just doing Coggins, right?
Yeah, just Coggins.
Recap. So the only one that really might have messed something up for us is Beyonce, which she's normally the GOAT of breeding season, so that's a little surprising. We can't be too hard on her though. So because she had kind of lost that follicle, she and Maggie might not sync up like we thought they would this week, and we might be having to start over with scratch. We're still going to check them on Thursday. We're also checking Willow, Sophie, Indy and Ginger on Thursday, all to see where they're at in their cycles. Hopefully be breeding some of them. With Willow's case, we're gonna be flushing her. And then we also took blood on these little guys over here to get them ready to go to their new homes. And it's gonna be sad for us, but I'm so excited for them and the futures that they have. So, hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Hopefully we answered some questions that y'all have had. If you have more, please put them in the comments. And a lot of the behind the scenes stuff of this was on Snapchat. So if you would like to stay up to date on behind the scenes things, sometimes little goofy stuff, go ahead and follow my Snapchat. We'll have that link here. And we'll just see you in the next one. It's getting busy.
Whoop.